It is officially August, which means it's time to talk about everything that happened in July. So hi, welcome back. My name is Freya, and this is my AuthorTube wrap up of my writing and reading in July. On this channel, I document my kind of writing and publishing journey. So if that's something you're interested, stick around. I have lots of videos. I make short videos with quick updates. I make longer videos like this one that are more sit down and chatty. And I also do vlogs and challenges. So July, I feel like a lot happened in July, and just putting together the notes for this video, I was kind of overwhelmed with the amount of stuff I have to talk about. But I thought I'd start with a kind of catch up on what I'm working on in case you've forgotten or in case you're brand new. So I have 3 projects currently in several different stages of construction. The first is the project I've been working on longest, The Go-Between Girl, which is a historical fiction novel that kind of reimagines an alternate reality where Roe versus Wade didn't go through, and kind of what that meant for America through the lens of a girl named Harriet, who has just finished college and gets pulled into working for an underground abortion organization just before the decision, just before the historical event takes place, about a year before. So that is currently my novel that I am querying. More updates on that to come, but I don't really have anything new to report with that project this month. It's just kind of doing its thing in the query trenches, and yeah, hopefully I will be able to update on that soon, but nothing new there. The second novel I have is a novel I'm currently editing. It's called High Quality Man, and it is the downfall of a manosphere podcaster who kind of is as they all are, awful to one of the girls on one of the women who comes onto his show. And what ends up happening is she commits suicide and then comes back to haunt him as a ghost. So that is their adventures together, kind of really tumultuous dynamic. So that novel, which I'm currently editing, is currently with my critique partner for the second time after I did I did roughly 2 passes on it in June. One kind of just quick editing, fixing little things, and then a second more thorough pass where I read through it. But in July, I haven't really opened this Scrivener file at all. It has just sat still. So my critique partner is taking his time with it. So we will probably hear back and have updates on that in August, but that is the current state of that project. So what am I actually working on? Well, that is Project 3, which is currently untitled. I did have a title idea in July, but I'm kind of keeping that to myself because I wasn't really totally sold on it yet. So I'm still thinking about it. But the novel is kind of a contemporary travel story that follows a girl named Annie who's working for a tour company, just started working for a tour company, and has decided to also on the side sell drugs on the trip. So obviously, as you can imagine with that, a lot of things go wrong. The current state of that project as of the end of June was at 10,000 words. So I made significant progress on it in the month of July, but that is the three projects I had going into the month and a little bit about them. So jumping in at the start of July, I started with my regular kind of routine, which if you are new and don't know, I have like a rotating list where writing is one of the activities along with reading and other regular life stuff like working out, and I work through that list in the same order. And then once I get back to the top, it's writing again. And I try and write 1,000 words. Well, I do write 1,000 words every time writing comes up on the list. So for the first kind of 2 weeks of the month, I wasn't filming any writing vlogs or anything. I was just working on that list in regular increments. And I think when I went away in the second part of the month, I was at about 4,000 words written. So I'd been through the list 4 times. And then you may have seen I filmed a video documenting my writing while I was on Lady Elliot Island. Now, the interesting thing about being on Lady Elliot Island is it's a very tiny island, about 50 to 80 kilometers off the Queensland coast. And so Wi-Fi was limited to one area of the island. And normally Wi-Fi is not an essential component in my writing process, but it's definitely like present. So like if I have a question that pops into my head while I'm writing, like an example would be in this travel novel, recently I was like kind of trying to decide on a restaurant for them to go to in Rome, and like you Google oldest restaurant in Rome, significant restaurant in Rome, that kind of thing. So I just turn to Google as I'm writing. I stop for a second, I go to Google, I find an answer, I go with my first gut instinct and put that in. And so internet is kind of an essential part of my writing process in terms of that. And on Lady Elliot Island, I had no internet, which meant that some of the travel components of writing this novel became challenging because I couldn't just Google my questions. But in other respects, it was very good for my progress with the novel, because I did like make significant progress in terms of word count. There were a lot of days where I was writing 2 sessions a day, so 2,000 words a day. And I think when I filmed the vlog of it, I capped it at 10,000 words because I thought it was getting boring and repetitive. But I did actually do 18,000 words on that trip. And that was quite significant progress in the novel, but that wasn't the whole month. I got back from that trip and I still had about a week left in July. So I decided to do another writing challenge. Now, previously, you may or may not have seen, I did a video where I wrote for the amount of time I waste on screen time a day. So my wasteful screen time of like watching YouTube, watching TV, that kind of thing, I tracked it for a week and then I tried to write for that length of time. And that video resulted in a lot of a lot of writing time. So I thought I'd do another similar challenge, and I decided to write for the amount of time I normally spend working out. Now, this was an easier challenge. Hang on one second. Okay, so as I was saying, this was an easier challenge than that screen time challenge, because I at least don't work out every day of the week. And also, I don't work out for the days kind of varied a little bit because I counted walks I was doing as well. So I think the first day was like 50 minutes. Then we had a day that was 38 minutes. And then we had a day that was 10 minutes. And then the last day, and there were days off in between those 2 days. And then the last day was like an hour, 29 minutes. So really, there was no, it was about as hard as the easy days of the screen time challenge, which was a kind of nice refresh because I was a bit not burnt out, but I definitely felt the difference doing 2 writing sessions of 1,000 words a day on Lady Elliot Island for most of the days. That did tire me out, and kind of my writing muscles felt a bit fatigued. So having an easier challenge was kind of good, and it was also good to shake up the length of time I was writing for. It kind of made me feel kind of refreshed because each session had a different goal. I think, it's like that thing, I do jog, so sometimes you're running for distance and sometimes you're running for time, and it's like that with word count. Sometimes you're targeting 1,000 words, and sometimes when you're targeting 50 minutes, you only have to sit butt in chair for 50 minutes, and that kind of different mindset of your brain of only having to sit for that amount of time, it really was a nice change for me. It really worked for me. So that is a potential idea if you're struggling with your own routine, is to change what your metric for how you're tracking your progress is and what you're targeting with that session. So if you're struggling to hit a word count goal, maybe write for a specific amount of time instead and see how that goes for you. So yeah, that was essentially, and then after I finished that challenge, we had 2-3 days left in the month, and I went back to my list for that kind of period of time. So the totals for the month were that I wrote 28,015 words in July, and I did that in 1,630 minutes, which I'm not sure how many hours that is because I didn't bother to calculate that in my notes, but that is the stats. So I'm going to take a brief intermission here and go and collect the books I wanted to talk about in this video and switch over to talking about reading for the rest of the video. I have 4 books I want to talk about, so and they were some good books, so stick around for that. Okay, the book stack has been collected, so let's chat books. The first book I want to talk about is a book I already talked about in my Dune wrap-up because I had started reading it then, and that is Yesteryear. I know this book is very hot right now, and I just want to add to any recommendations you've seen to read it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It has a twist at the end that I didn't see coming. It's captivating. The voice feels very real, and I just thought it was so compelling. Then, because I liked Yesteryear so much, I googled books like Yesteryear and got the recommendation to read Yellowface. And this book helped me feel not so alone in the querying trenches so much. Like, I didn't want to relate to such an awful character as much as we got cut off because my iPhone storage is now at the point where I have to delete certain apps and then re-download them if I want to film a video. But yeah, really loved Yellowface. It is a great book about writing. It has twists and turns. If you haven't read it, would recommend that one as well. The third book I'm a bit more lukewarm about, and that was The Simp. I picked it up because I was looking for comp titles for High Quality Man, and it kind of seemed like they're both set in LA, so that they have that in common, and I thought it might, be similar. I don't think it's a good comp title, but I think it is a good book. It follows Raj, who is an unemployable actor, and his kind of journey to start working for an A-list Hollywood family, and the kind of menial tasks they make him do, and kind of how they treat him, essentially. And what I found really sweet about it was he has this great relationship with his former acting mentor, Anthony, and it just kind of had this beautiful dynamic of you may or may not be able to relate to this, but as your parents get older, they kind of that parent-child relationship almost reverses, and I could see that had happened in the book with Anthony, who'd kind of taken Raj on as a surrogate son, and now Raj was kind of caring for him, and it was just that dynamic of the book was really sweet for me. Then the final book I have to talk about is The Magician. I read this out of desperation when we were on Lady Elliot Island because I had no books left, and my traveling companion had bought the book with them. So yeah, it is historical fiction, and it's about an area of history, a person in history I didn't know anything about. So it follows the life of Thomas Mann, who is a German novelist who won the Pulitzer Prize. And yeah, I just found it was quite ambitious because it takes his life all the way from when he's a teenager through to his 80s. So all the way through the First and Second World War, and it was just kind of cool to see his life progress over that change in history, and kind of I think it's really sweeping historical fiction in that sense. So that is kind of all the books I had to talk about, and I think everything I have to say. I guess the final thing I want to say is stay tuned for August. I have some quite scary challenges and ambitious ideas planned for this month, and the next video you'll see from me is going to be a kind of redo of a video I've previously filmed. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I really appreciate you taking an interest in my writing, reading, publishing, all life things that I document on this channel, and leave me a comment and let me know how your July went and what you have planned for August in terms of your own writing or creative projects, because I'd love to stay in the loop. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.